Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Samuel and I'm a private tutor based in London, and I run tutoring company and consultancy Sam Tutoring. Now, the UK, with its over 32,000 schools, has a reputation for having one of the most complex and confusing education systems when compared to other countries around the world. There's a lot for families to consider and think about, and hopefully this video will make the process a bit easier for families relocating to the UK, and hopefully leave you in a better position to make an informed decision about the education options that are available for your family. Let's start by talking about the age requirements. In the UK, children are expected to be in full-time education by the time they're 4 years old. They have to be 4 years old on the 1st of September to begin the school year. This is called reception. And they have to remain in some sort of education at least until the age of 18. After reception, they enter years 1, 2, 3, and so on, right through up to year 13 or the upper 6th. It is very important that parents understand the different ages that children are going to be when they enter different year groups, because unlike in other countries, there isn't really the option to skip ahead years or to be held back. That's not really what we do in the UK. Now, the age requirements can be a bit confusing, especially if you're not used to the UK education system. Remember that the school year starts from the 1st of September of one year to the 31st of August the following year. So you can have two children that are born in the same year, one born on the 31st of August and the second one born on the 1st of September. They will be in two different year groups. The one born on the 31st of August will be in the upper year group, so for example year 1, and the one born on the 1st of September will be in the lower year group, reception. Now let's discuss the types of school. Broadly speaking, schools are divided by age and type. When considering age, the vast majority of children go to primary school from the ages of 4 to 11 and secondary school from the age of 11 to 16. In the UK, children must be in some sort of education up until the age of 18. Children have the option to stay in their school after 16 and enter the sixth form, or they can go to a college. Sixth forms are an extension of schools and have a more rigid, structured timetable. They focus on academic subjects needed for most universities in the form of A-levels and international baccalaureate. Colleges also offer academic subjects like sixth forms, but are different because they also offer more vocational subjects with different qualifications such as BTECs and NVQ qualifications. Younger children will be in primary school and older children will be in secondary school. However, schools also differ by the type of school that they are. There are two main types of school in the UK. They are, number one, state schools. Now, state schools are funded by the taxpayer. They can take on different variations, such as comprehensive, academies, faith schools, free schools, and grammar schools. Now, the difference between these schools is in their admissions criteria, their governance, and if they receive funding directly from the government or the local authority, and also their focus and their culture. They are free for students to attend. Next, we have independent schools, also known as private schools, but for the most oldest and prestigious of boarding schools, confusingly also known as public schools, but private school and independent school are normally used interchangeably. Now, private schools are not funded by the taxpayer. Parents of students that attend these schools pay for their education via school fees, which normally cost thousands of pounds per term. They can set their own admission criteria, and selection process will often have some sort of entrance exam. You can have state and private boarding schools where children live at school and go home during school holidays. State boarding schools are very rare. The vast majority of boarding schools in the UK are private boarding schools. Now, it's really important that parents understand what the national curriculum is. The national curriculum is an education framework that all state schools must follow. They set out what children should know and be able to do at each individual stage of their education development. Schools such as faith schools and grammar schools have a bit more flexibility about what aspects of the national curriculum they teach. Independent schools, however, can customize their own curriculum and do not have to follow the national curriculum to the same extent that state schools do. Many of them offer subjects and experiences that are not available to children in state schools. Now, independent schools tend to be where more affluent students attend school, and there is much debate around the fairness and future of these institutions. Students on average perform significantly better in public examinations and represent a higher proportion of their student bodies that go on to top universities. Many independent schools have slightly different structure when it comes to year groups when compared to the state school system. Virtually all schools have to take part in public examinations. GCSEs are a gateway to post-16 courses and university. After GCSEs, students have the option to do very academic subjects such as A-levels and the IB, or less academic vocational qualifications such as BTECs and MVQs. Next, let's talk about the school year and school hours. Now, a normal school day begins between 8 AM and 9 AM and ends between 3 PM and 4 PM. But this doesn't include after school clubs and extracurricular activities, which tend to be more commonplace at independent schools. Now, the school year is from September to July. It's split into 3 terms. You have the autumn term, which is from early September to mid-December. You have the spring term, which is from early January to late March or early April, depending on when Easter is. And then you have the summer term, which is from April to mid-July. Each term is approximately 12 weeks. And after the autumn term, you have the Christmas holidays, which is 2 weeks long. After the spring term, you have the Easter holidays. This is also 2 weeks long. And after the summer term, you have the summer holidays, which is 6 weeks long. Also, during the middle of each term is a 1-week break called half term. The autumn half term takes place in late October to early November. The spring half term takes place in the middle of February, and the summer half term takes place at the end of May into early June. Independent schools tend to give their students longer holidays, and it's becoming more common that schools, both private and state, take a 2-week holiday instead of a 1-week holiday during the autumn half term. Next, we're going to discuss a catchment area. Now, a catchment area is a geographical area surrounding a school from which it will usually take most of its pupils. This doesn't tend to affect private schools as much as state schools, but especially grammar schools that have a good quality of education and high levels of attainment comparable to that of private schools. These schools are free to attend, and having catchment areas means that local children have more of a chance to attend good schools within their local community. Now, catchment areas affect our next topic, and that is house prices. In very selective catchment areas, this has a bearing on house prices and drives up the costs of houses in an area that have very good schools. Parents obviously want to send their children to the best schools and give them the best education, so parents are prepared to pay more. This creates a seller's market where considerations such as schools and transport links means 2 houses that are the same size can vary greatly in their costs, with parents prepared to pay a premium to be closer to good schools. Applications are open at different times depending on each local council area. For primary schools, applications open in September and close on the 15th of January. Your child will be 3 or have just turned 4. The deadline for applying for a secondary school place is the 31st of October. You can still apply if you miss these deadlines, but your child is less likely to be offered a place at your chosen school if you do miss these deadlines for applications. Most state and some private schools do have in-year admissions where they accept students during the school year. Ideally though, you will want your child to begin at the start of the school year to make the transition as smooth as possible. Grammar schools are the only type of state school that are allowed to select students based on how they perform on a test called the 11+. The application deadlines are normally well before other state school deadlines, so parents know if their child has passed the exam before they enter their choices via the local council's application forms. Private schools have their own application process that can vary from school to school. Many schools try to align their timeline with the state school system so parents can apply for both types of school around the same time. There is normally a fee for the application, but this can be waived for families from lower income backgrounds. Some prestigious schools such as Eton have extended application processes that can last for 3 years, where advancement is dependent on performance on entrance exams such as the Common Entrance and interviews. There will also be a scholarship and bursary applications. These may be part of the main application, or a separate application may need to be made. If you are successful and your child gets a place, you will pay reduced fees if you obtain a scholarship or a bursary. It is so important that parents know when the application deadlines are. It's one of the biggest mistakes that parents make, not being aware of when key dates are for applications. So for state schools, councils will send offers for school places for primary schools on the 16th of April and secondary schools on the 1st of March. If either date falls on a weekend or a bank holiday, offers will be sent on the next working day. Offers from private schools will also be released at a predetermined date, but will normally coincide with when offers are released in the state school system. Parents must accept the offer by the deadline, otherwise it may be withdrawn and the place given to someone else. For private schools, this may mean a deposit of school fees given by a certain date to secure your child's place. If the local council is unable to offer your child a place at any of the schools that you have applied for, they are required to offer you another school. This will normally be at the nearest school with places available. You may be put on a waiting list and your child will be able to attend the school if a place becomes available. You are also able to appeal against decisions for both private and state schools. The process and criteria are outlined via the school or local council website. Next, let's discuss nursery and preschools. Now, nursery and preschools are not mandatory, but the vast majority of parents enroll their children. So when they begin reception at the age of 4, which is mandatory, they already have the necessary skills to flourish at school. There are a number of nursery and early year provision available, and you can learn more by getting in contact with the Family Information Service of your local council or using resources such as the Daycare Trust. During your research, you'll be able to identify if there are funded places for early years education available. 3 and 4-year-old children in England have a legal right to 15 hours of free education per week for 38 weeks of the year. Along with this, your employer may offer you childcare vouchers as part of your job's benefits package. These can't be used alongside tax credits, however. What are tax credits? Now, working tax credits is money from the government for the care of your children. To be entitled to this, both you and your partner need to work at least 16 hours a week. You can use tools such as the government benefits calculator to understand what you would be entitled to. Both funded places and tax credits are conditional on your immigration status, so it's really important this gets sorted out before you come over. Now let's discuss international schools. London especially is home to some of the best international schools in the UK. International schools are private schools that offer the curriculum and culture of a particular country. Most international schools offer similar standards of schooling around the world and use of the International Baccalaureate, which is recognized all over the world and provides a gateway to all of the top universities. They tend to be really popular with families relocating to the UK. So for children arriving in the UK, international schools can be a better fit than state schools, as staff are more likely to understand the needs of foreign students, and children may feel a lot more comfortable and find it easier to make friends as they are surrounded by fellow international students. International schools don't have to follow the national curriculum. They can cater more for the needs of their students. A good example of this is if a family will be experiencing successive family moves, international schools will have the benefit of a consistent education so students can continue working towards a particular qualification. Next, let's discuss special schools. Now, if your child has a special educational need, you're going to require specific provision. State schools and private schools will have a SEND department, but there are also specialist schools for children with particular SEND needs. The best thing to do is to work on a school-by-school basis and see how they will be able to support your child specifically, and use this in your decision making. Next is school behavior. Now, a school's behavior policies are essential for parents to know and be aware of, because they provide important insight into the culture of the school and how seriously a school takes behavior. Now, good school behavior policies will have the following. They'll help the student develop character, they'll reform students who misbehave through support programs to address behavioral issues, they'll also ensure student safety, and of course counteract the use of harmful substances such as drugs and alcohol. It should also encourage daily attendance to school and contact with parents in the event there is an issue with attendance. Now let's look at university education in the UK. The UK has many of the best universities in the world and is a very popular destination for families relocating to the UK with a view to, in the long term, joining one of these institutions. International students do pay more than home students, and the application and admissions process is a lot more streamlined and comprehensive, as the UK welcomes hundreds of thousands of international students every single year. They're normally processed via the University and College Admission Service, which is called UCAS. Now, where can parents actually look to find information about UK schools? There are many online directories and parent forums. There are also league tables that rank schools on a number of metrics, such as how they perform in public examinations and the proportion of students that go on to top universities. Whilst this is useful, it doesn't always give you a complete picture if a particular school would be a good fit for your child. Parents should also pay attention to other things such as the culture of the school, transport links, and the provision of extracurricular activities. Parents need to assess if their child will be happy there. Will they thrive in this particular school environment? A lot of useful information can also be found on the Department of Education's website and by reading school reports by Ofsted, which oversees state schools, and the Independent Schools Inspectorate that oversees private schools. Don't forget to ask family and friends that have sent children to UK schools what their experiences have been like. Attending open days and speaking to staff and students is also essential, but I would argue that if you're able to visit the school during the normal working day, this would be even more useful. Many schools are able to accommodate this, so don't be shy to ask. There are also virtual tours available for many schools if you're not able to visit in person. I would definitely encourage you to visit the school in person, especially if you are relocating to the UK, so you're able to make an informed decision. With all this information, you may be wondering, when is a good time to start my UK school search? And the honest answer is, it's never too early to begin looking, especially because you have so many different options available. Some useful questions to think about when you are looking for schools is, how long do you plan to stay in the UK? What happens if you have to stay in the UK longer than planned? And which education system do you want your child to adhere to? Is university part of the planning? And if so, which country may your child choose to go to university? Now, hopefully you found this video useful and you now have a solid foundation to begin or continue your research of the UK education system. This list is in no way exhaustive, but it does contain much of the foundational things that you need to think of as a family and you need to be aware of before relocating to the UK. If you do need any further help, you can get in touch with myself or my team. We would be happy to help. All the details are in the description. If you have found this useful, please send it to a friend and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.